On our quest for gratitude,
the evolutionary origins
the biological origins of gratitude.
This is more than the say please and thank you version.
Our brains are wired
Upstream reciprocity.
to experience this sense of reward.
That contagious factor of generosity and gratitude.
When experiencing and expressing gratitude. Hey there, I'm Reverend Dan. We are Soul Evolution Collaborative, an innovative bricks and clicks spiritual community dedicated to the intentional evolution and authenticity of the human soul. And this is Truth Be Told 2.0, a weekly series bringing you inspiring and uplifting messages, new ways to look at the world, and ancient wisdom in the most practical ways possible. This is relevant and authentic spiritual awareness to help you change your life. So, welcome to episode 103, Gratitude in the House. We're looking at many aspects of gratitude all month long, and today we are on a quest to find gratitude. Taking a look at the roots of gratitude, its evolutionary and biological origins, which I pretty much knew nothing about before this week. So I don't know about you, but when I think about gratitude, my thoughts immediately go to some sort of gratitude practice rooted in spiritual philosophy. But it turns out that there is so much more to gratitude than just that. According to the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley and their study on the science of gratitude, gratitude has biological roots embedded in our evolutionary history. Gratitude influences the very structure of our brain, and it is embedded in our DNA and all throughout our childhood development. But that's not all. Gratitude can greatly influence our culture. In fact, gratitude is an inherent and necessary part of human nature and social development. So let's head off on our quest for gratitude in episode 103 of Truth Be Told 2.0.
So we continue in our exploration of this thing called gratitude. And I'm going to start today in a place that I have never started before. The evolutionary origins of gratitude. Now, doesn't that sound fun? Sounds fun to me. So this is more than the say please and thank you version of gratitude. Sparks of this behavior, emotion, affect of gratitude, like we talked about last week, can be found in all diversities of life. Fish, birds, mammals, just to name a few. We see these examples of in the natural world, a demonstration of what researchers call reciprocal altruism. And this can be understood as initiating a behavior that helps another, unrelated individual or being, at a cost to themselves, presumably because they recognize at some instinctual level that the individual or being may repay the favor at a later date. And so there's a relationship between gratitude and reciprocal altruism. So altruism means the belief or practice of a disinterested or selfless concern for the well-being of others. And so, all right, so buckle up because we're just getting started and stuff is about to get real and absolutely fascinating. So studies have shown, and I can 100% agree that I have felt this in my own life, that people often feel more grateful for benefits provided by a stranger or someone with whom they have a more distant relationship than those that they do have similar benefits for provided by closer relatives, friends, or associates. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? So while other processes and pressures in our evolution serve to motivate us to help those that are closest to us, gratitude itself seems to have evolved to help people form social and relational bonds with those outside biological relationships to support reciprocal altruism. So in other words, gratitude is utilized to form bonds with individuals that will support the needs of each other, literally planting the seed and watering the tiny little roots of community. So to further support this idea, Sarah Algoy, has a find, remind, and bind theory of gratitude. And so this explains how gratitude helps individuals identify and form close bonds and good relationship partners. And as if that wasn't enough, according to theoretical research by Noack and Roque, gratitude may also have played a role in the evolution of another form of reciprocal altruism known as upstream reciprocity. So upstream reciprocity is when receiving benefits from one individual spurs someone to show generosity towards a third party, and so on and so on. That contagious factor of generosity and gratitude. The one that shifts not only us, but the world around us. So as you can see, gratitude has played an important part in human social evolution, shaping not only who we are as individuals, but how we interact with others and even the world around us. It has an ubiquitous nature, showing up in all cultures, all societies, and all walks of life. So next up, we're going to explore the biological origins of gratitude.
It is no secret when we look at our world that conflict, polarization, and a framework of discontent abounds.
What if that didn't have to be?
What if that didn't have to be?
What if that didn't have to be?
The truth is that underneath it all is our innate hardwiring for love, connection, and belonging.
In our ever-evolving experience, now is the time.
Now is the time.
Is the time to unlearn societal constructs of the past.
And relearn what it means to be human.
To be human.
What it means to be human and a part of the global community.
This can only be done together.
This can only be done together.
This can only be done together.
We are being called to pack away the us versus them mentality and instead embrace the profound power of we.
Join Soul Evolution Collaborative.
Join Soul Evolution Collaborative
for the O-Shift Healing the Divide Summit,
November 14th through 17th.
November 14th through the 17th.
This event, through powerful speakers, engaging workshops, and collective conversation, will explore the transformative effects of healing the divide.
Now is the time for change.
Now is the time for healing.
Now is the time for healing the divide.
The next step on our quest for gratitude is understanding the biological origins of gratitude. It seems there is a direct connection between gratitude and certain emotions that are involved in creating and maintaining social connections and values. UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center's paper, The Science of Gratitude, notes a growing interest in the biological correlates between gratitude and positive emotions, their connection to the anatomy of our brain, and our genetic makeup. Gratitude is related to our emotional responses. It changes the way our brain is made up, which ultimately affects our genetics. fMRI studies have shown this connection between the parts of our brains that are active when experiencing gratitude and the parts of our brains that are associated with rewards and social bonds. This is a connection between expressing gratitude and building social relationships. Our brains are wired to experience this sense of reward when expressing close social bonds that are developed when experiencing and expressing gratitude. So it seems gratitude has also developed as a means of determining who is trustworthy or not. Those who experience gratitude more readily tend to have a greater percentage of gray matter in the right inferior temporal cortex, the part of the brain that is linked to interpreting the moral intentions and actions of others. The more gratitude we experience, the more we understand other people, which makes sense. If gratitude is a means of building the social bonds necessary for survival, then it seems we would also naturally develop a greater intuition towards relationships that are safe and those that may not be. Gratitude also activates regions of the brain associated with moral cognition, a greater ability to understand different perspectives, which is huge, And all of this comes with a sense of reward for partaking in those behaviors. Okay, so let's break this all down. So basically, the gist of it is that throughout human history, survival was dependent on building social relationships. Gratitude, the act of experiencing gratitude, encouraged these relationships. Biology then rewarded us for experiencing and engaging in that behavior. So feeling pretty good about it all, we kind of just learned to rinse and repeat. Engage in social bonds, be grateful, get rewarded with all the happy feel-good chemicals. Happy feel-good chemicals encourages us to just keep doing it. So be grateful, build relationships, feel happy, basically. Then, after a while, we got pretty good at understanding other people, their motives, their actions, even the ability to perceive different perspectives different than our own. And really, it kind of starts to sound like compassion, doesn't it? What is even cooler is that the biological origins of gratitude don't even stop there. It continues, there's more. The more grateful someone tends to be, the greater the sense of reward that they tend to feel for continuing to engage in these behaviors. Assessing moral intentions and actions of others, being inherently social, becomes a rewarding act, which becomes self-perpetuating, meaning that gratitude encourages other activity and behavior that builds even stronger social bonds and behavior. One of those behaviors is altruism, which is essentially just one's concern for others. The more we practice gratitude and biological reward, the more we develop a sense of caring for others. There is a sense, there is in essence a reason that all of this starts to sound like compassion, because that's literally what we're talking about. Gratitude leads to altruism, which gets practiced as compassion. And I think the coolest part is, while some are predisposed to experience a greater sense of gratitude, that any one of us, and really in fact all of us, can actually change the makeup of our brain to experience more gratitude simply by expressing more gratitude. Practicing authentic gratitude kicks in that reward response, which encourages more gratitude, which builds the social bonds, which betters our ability to understand each other. And so when practiced regularly, we can literally build new brain structures, which can make gratitude kind of this new default setting. So it turns out understanding the biology of gratitude might actually be the key to understanding and building compassionate community.
The thing that stood out to me, that the whole thing where you talked about how gratitude actually is like almost like the precursor of compassion. It's like the ingredient in this compassion building. And so, in the segment I did where it talks about upstream reciprocity, we just talked about a reciprocal nature last month, but this, this idea that, we receive something that benefits us from someone else.
Right.
And then that gratitude, that feeling, then spurs us to kind of reciprocate that action in the world, maybe not necessarily to the person or the circumstance that we received it from, but then to kind of, I guess, pay it forward. And then again, right. And then again. And so then it becomes this upstream reciprocity where we are creating like compassionate environment, empathetic environment, community. And so it's more than just, we talk about like gratitude and all these things in our spiritual communities, but it hits home a little bit differently when it's more than just this ideology that is spouted from the lectern or whatever on a Sunday morning. But this is actually evolutionary. This is actually biological. This is actually in our design. It's not like set in stone. It has this fluidity about it. And so, it's to learn that gratitude from the perspective of evolution and biology, it really did open the door for a lot of stuff.
I also realized that there is like that inauthentic, like fake gratitude of like, say thank you because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a very different feeling and response and reaction and experience. But what I like, I'm like real time piecing it together here, right? So like this upstream reciprocity thing, what stuck out to me about that is it's more than I'll scratch your back so you scratch mine. It's more than I'll be grateful. I'll do this for you so you right. It's like I'm going to do this because it's the thing I'm going to do, and then that's like kicks into motion. Oh, that person then becomes great. Like the reward system says, oh wow, somebody did something for me. That's super cool. Happy chemicals, happy chemicals. Then they go and do something because they're experiencing that reward, which encourages us to then continue that. They go do something for someone else. And so the first person to do the thing is not necessarily the immediate benefactor of the chain of events that they have started. I don't know. I think that false sense of gratitude that like I can think back to as a kid, I mean, it just brings me to like writing thank you notes. Like no kid enjoys writing thank you notes, but it's like you did the thing for me, so I'm supposed to do the thing for you. Like you showed up to whatever, or you gave me, I don't know, right? You sent me a birthday card, and so I'm supposed to send you a thank you note. And and it's like I've just never been the card giving kind of person. So writing thank you notes, especially as a kid, it was just not enjoyable, and it had this very like false sense, very inauthentic thing to it, and it was a task. Like I had to do it, or tried to weasel my way out of doing it, I guess. But that's a really different process than this upstream reciprocity where it's like you give somebody a smile that puts a smile on their face. They then smile at the next person they see. It's like this chain reaction. So much of what we're talking about for me feeds into this like American self-reliance, rugged individual mindset. I mean, even like the idea like gratitude is weakness, like to show emotion period is weakness, or whatever. It's interesting to like, oh, it's biological. Like we have developed cultural beliefs that go against our biology. We're structured, we're wired, we are designed to be this way, to be grateful, to express gratitude, to express emotions. We literally get rewarded for it. Like, and the reward is not like, I'm going to do this so I get rewarded. The reward is like this behind the scene things that encourages us to keep doing those things that evolution has shown us. Like, doing this helps us survive. Doing this lets us thrive.
Well, and it's interesting, like all of it is in the context of, and this is not new information, but it is just a confirmation, I guess I should say. It is in this context of relationship, right? I mean, gratitude exists only in the context of relationship, and it could be relationship, to us and another person, or us and the world around us. It's us and myself and so like all of these emotions are like in the context of relationship. So it's no surprise that the practicing of this strengthens relationships, strengthens social bonds, strengthens our ability for compassion, strengthens our ability for empathy, strengthens our ability for participation in community, whatever that looks like for you. It just continues to reinforce when we are open to these experiences. It continues to reinforce that which we are, that we are communal beings, we're relational beings. We are we don't create in a vacuum. We don't exist in a vacuum. We don't experience gratitude in a vacuum. That the very experience of me expressing gratitude, feeling gratitude has that upstream reciprocity. It has a direct impact on the world around me. Some people may say, oh, that could be good news and bad news. But for me, when we're intentional about it, wow, I mean, really, that empowers us that we can actually facilitate like just crazy transformation in our world, in the things that we see, and the things that we watch, I mean, the things that we experience in our world, that we actually we're no longer like that. This awareness is we're no longer victims to it, that we actually can impact it.
Yeah.
And small thing, but like even this expression of gratitude, or this, living a life from gratitude. And that doesn't mean, hey, everything's great. And that doesn't mean you bypass, the real challenges, but opening to this way of seeing the world, man, it just becomes a catalyst for us being really powerfully creative in our lives, powerfully supportive of individuals, powerfully supportive of our communities. And just, man, that's like a cataclysmic change that we can be a part of. And we are a part of. I'm going to say it. I mean, we are a part of. This is not something that's in the future. I mean, just by the fact of us having this conversation and inviting people to have this conversation, people even listening to the conversation, is literally just rewiring our brains, rewiring our perception of the world around us and our relationship to it.
Gratitude itself is evolutionary, and yet it also has this feeling of like coming back to, right? Like remembering, like, oh, yeah, we can all coexist. We can get rid of this perceived divide of us and them. We can, and maybe gratitude is just a piece of it, but like it's this whole biological hardwiring. Society just leans into and embraces this idea of connection and relying on each other. I know that's probably like a crazy concept for a lot of people right now because just the way society is. But like, yeah, like imagine if we embrace the biological hardwiring of our need to embrace each other, our need to belong, our need to connect, our need to be part of. Some of the reason a lot of this perceived divide is showing up now is because of our ability, our technological ability to reach like the whole world, right? Where, a couple decades ago, you had your, the town, the city, the community you lived in, the world was small.
Right. And now it's huge.
Huge. Yeah, it's everything. It's literally everything, which is, I think, also evolutionary, right? The idea that like the world now, like technology, we've created the technology to connect everyone, to connect everything. And now we're like playing catch up to that idea because everything else has always been us and them. And this is us and this is safe and they're them and that's not. Has it been a misunderstanding of biology? I don't know, right? But like now I think we're at a place of like, reorganizing some beliefs around
stuff.
Us. What is us?
And that's going to lead to what we're going to be talking about next week, which is the social factors of gratitude, how that and it's going to be kind of a continuing of the conversation that we've had today, like the social implications and social impact of this understanding, this like really deep understanding of what gratitude is. So
yes, gratitude this month. It's going to continue to be an amazing conversation. So join us next week for the next step, which is jumping further into the social aspects of gratitude. And in the meantime, check out soulevolutioncollaborative.org because we have some great things coming up this month. Great things coming up next week. We are hosting our second annual O Shift Summit. This is the O Shift Healing the Divide Summit. And of course, you would think all of this was planned. It falls right in line with the exact topics we're talking about this month. So go figure. But check it out. It's going to be amazing. And then the end of the summit is the special launch event for Socially Engaged Conversations, which is going to be a monthly event come the new year, all about bridging that perceived divide, bridging the divide that looks like it exists between us and them in the world, and building the skills to bridge that divide. So always great stuff going on. We, of course, have our regular weekly events, but all that information available at soulevolutioncollaborative.org. So go check it out when you have a moment. Thanks for tuning in. This is Truth Be Told 2.0, and we'll see you next week.